This is the Ross Kaminsky Show. Now, Ross Kaminsky on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
Rob Carson filling in for Ross as he enjoys a couple days off. You're listening to 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station. The phone number here, 303-713-8255. If you'd like to check out my Facebook page, it is Facebook at Rob Carson Show. The website, robcarsonshow.com. I'm a talk show host, nationally syndicated comedy writer, and I also have about 100 cooking videos on the web. I figure, as I've always said, we can disagree on politics, but we won't disagree on ribs unless you're a vegan, and that means you have an eating disorder. And by the way, very shortly on the show, new evidence that you think smoking, you think drinking during pregnancy is bad? You want to believe that veganism by mom does just as much damage, maybe even more. We'll get into that very shortly on the show. So Crayola is going to get rid of one color from its 24-count box for the first time. Remember the big 64 with the built-in sharpener? That's one of the iconic smells of your childhood, right? The crayon, the Crayola crayon. Well, they're going to get rid of one of them. Friday is National Crayon Day. Now, this is going to wreak havoc on people with OCD. And I've had mild OCD in the past. 24 to 23. You can't have 23 crayons in a box. You've got to have 24. You can't have an odd number. What? I think it's going to be white. And I think it's going to be white, honestly. You look what's happening on college campuses everywhere. You think about how privileged white has been for so long. You got to imagine they're going to get rid of white. A lot of people want to get rid of white. On campus, whatever. White is a privileged color. So I guess they're probably going to get rid of white. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Let's talk about immigration or immigration. Jeff Sessions on Monday came out and talked about immigration. Let me play a little bit from Jeff Sessions on Monday with what the federal government is going to do if, and this is basically what this is all about, if cities release criminal aliens before giving them over to ICE. This is what this is all about. ICE is not rounding up people wholesale. ICE is not busting down doors and grabbing people from their families just because they are illegal. And by the way, policy in Denver with the police department, immigration status is never a reason to stop someone. That is not even part of the equation. Now, if you are caught robbing a bank or you just got done raping somebody and they find out that you are an illegal immigrant, that's going to get you held. All right? At least that's what the police are saying. Yet we have we've got a mayor who says basically, if you're illegal, come here. And a lot of mayors around the country are doing this. Here's a little bit from Jeff Sessions on Monday to refresh your memory.
The Department of Justice has a duty to enforce our nation's laws, including our immigration laws.
Immigration.
Those laws require us to promptly remove aliens when they are convicted or detained of certain crimes.
Okay.
The vast majority of American people support this common sense requirement.
80%.
According to one recent poll, 80% of Americans believe that cities that arrest illegal immigrants for crimes should be required to turn them over to immigration authorities. Unfortunately, some states and cities have adopted policies designed to frustrate this enforcement of immigration laws. This includes refusing to detain known felons under federal detainer request or otherwise failing to comply with these laws. For example, the Department of Homeland Security recently issued a report showing that in a single week, there were more than 200 instances of jurisdictions refusing to honor ICE detainer requests with respect to individuals charged or convicted of a serious crime.
Okay. We also know that Barack Obama released 89,000 criminal aliens between 2013 and 2015. These are indisputable, okay? But here is Mayor Hancock on Monday. He had a YouTube video. It might have been yesterday afternoon. Here's what he had to say about it.
If being a sanctuary city means that we value...
Okay, I'm just going to set this up. Get ready for some self-righteous pontification, because every mayor who's left of center, every person who is a leftist in this country, they look at you and me for saying we don't want illegal criminal aliens here to be here. They look at us as somehow closed-minded, redneck, racist, xenophobes, and they look down their nose. It gets really ugly. Here it is.
Taking care of one another and welcoming refugees and immigrants, then I welcome the title. If being a sanctuary city means families and young dreamers live with hope and not fear, then Washington can label us whatever they want.
There you go. There's the self-righteous pontification meter pegged out. Boom, pegged out. So who do you believe? Who do you believe? Mr. Sessions or Mr. Hancock? 303-713-8255. Mayors of sanctuary cities across the country fire back at the Attorney General after he threatens to cut off billions. Mayor Eric Garcetti of Los Angeles and Rahm Emanuel of Chicago are among a number of politicians who have since spoken out against Sessions' claims, calling them unconstitutional and damaging for some of the nation's most thriving cities. Well, there's a whole lot of thriving crime in these cities because of illegal immigration, by the way. Mayor Garcetti said on Monday slashing funds for first responders for our port, airport, for counterterrorism, crime fighting, and community building serves no one. Community building, okay. Not this city, not the federal government, not the American people. There we go again with the self-righteous pontification. Bravo! San Francisco has filed a lawsuit against the administration for wanting to make cities hang on to criminal illegal aliens until ICE arrives.
I'm announcing today that I filed a federal lawsuit against President Donald Trump and his administration for his executive order attempting to deprive San Francisco and other cities of billions of dollars in federal funding because of our sanctuary status.
Now, however, it's perfectly fine to withhold federal funds from states who say, if you have a pee-pee, you go to the boys' room, and if you have a nina, you go to the girls' room.
The president's executive order is not only unconstitutional, it's un-American.
Yes.
This is not a step that I take lightly.
Pontification.
But it's one that is necessary to defend the people of this city, this state, and this country from the overreach of a president who has shown little respect for our Constitution, states' rights, or the rule of law.
You want to talk about pays no attention to state rights? Look at the man who was in the White House for 8 years.
The fabric of our communities and billions of dollars are at stake. No president can commandeer the local police force and turn it into the deportation arm of the federal government. Beyond being unlawful, President Trump's...
All they're doing is the police are holding on to felonious illegals until the feds arrive, doing the job they're supposed to do.
Executive order undermines the foundation of our communities,
Whatever.
which are built on trust, hard work,
and a lot of crime.
Open communication.
Sure.
We have at least 30,000 undocumented residents here in the city and county of San Francisco, and they are scared. And
if they haven't committed a felony, they have nothing to be afraid of.
And we owe it to our community, whether they be undocumented or citizens, that
or we just call them illegal or legal.
A comfort in not fearing that there's going to be an ICE raid at their home for no reason, and they're going to be deported.
You know, we've had this throughout the campaign. The Democrat Party has fomented fear among every group, whipped people into a frenzy, saying that Donald Trump is going to go after black people, after Muslims, and all this stuff. And this is just more of the same. More of the same hysteria. Sue's on the line. Hello, Sue. Welcome to 630 KHOW. Rob Carson filling in. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up?
You know, I am a big proponent of let's secure our borders.
Yes.
Let's be a country that takes care of ourselves. But the words that you are using by talking about immigration and then trying to say it with a Spanish accent like all illegals are Mexicans,
Okay.
this is the reason, Rob, that Republicans are considered racist. I have a Hispanic daughter. I am
Yes.
white.
Yes.
Their dad is Mexican. She is in the Navy. She came here and had a man scream at her in a Walmart, to go back to Mexico because she was talking to her sister in Spanish.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, listen, of course that's racist and ridiculous, and I apologize for saying Emigracion. I could say it in Irish. I could say it in whatever. I'm just trying to say here, Sue, that your daughter, great. Listen, I love it when people come here and they want to weave into the fabric of society. They want to learn the language. They want to become part of the culture, and I respect immigrants very much. I mean, I every time I see an immigrant and I talk to an immigrant, whether I've got some guys out in front of my house working, and I know they're from south of the border. It could be Mexico, could be Nicaragua, could be wherever. And they work their asses off. And these guys, every one of these crews, they're not white guys, all right? So I'm with you, and your point's well taken, Sue. I get it, but I do get tired of the pontification with regard to wanting to get people who are here as criminal illegals out. I personally was a victim of this. I had 5 illegals break in and wreck my house. They were arrested, they were not held, and they disappeared with my stuff, and they were never heard from again. I had a friend who was hit and nearly killed by a drunk driver who was an illegal, had no identification, was not here legally, arrested, and then released into the fabric of society, never showed up. So those people I want to see go. Your daughter, you know what? Shame on that person for yelling at him. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Okay. Then we have nothing to argue about. I will not say emigracion. I'll say it in other dialects as well. I can say it in German.
Well,
Immigration.
it's just one of those things where you have to realize that this is what stereotypes the conservatives like me to look at, is when you use those words. That's how people hear. You have to use care.
Well, we are stereotyped too as well, Sue. So I greatly appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. 303-713-8255. All right, I can do other accents. Don't worry. Wasn't meaning to pick on anybody. Wasn't meaning to be jingoistic. Massachusetts sheriff says that law enforcement, basically the arrest the leaders of sanctuary cities. He says that leaders of sanctuary cities should be arrested. Bristol County Sheriff Thomas Hutch told the House Subcommittee on Illegal Immigration that sanctuary cities have become magnets for illegal aliens. They have, some of which have violent criminal records. My God, I lived in the Washington, D.C. area where MS-13 had moved in, even to my son's school. MS-13 is a vile group of illegals. If these sanctuary cities are going to harbor and conceal illegal aliens from ICE, which is in direct violation of Title VIII of the U.S. Code, federal arrest warrants should be issued for their elected officials. Our citizens would be safer if we stopped enforcing immigration law and if we never formed or turned a blind eye toward sanctuary cities. Here's all you got to do, folks. As a leader of a so-called sanctuary city, if you arrest a criminal alien, not because they're here illegally, but because they've committed a crime, they've been arrested, and they've been found to be illegal, all the mayor, whether it be Aurora, whether it be Denver, whether it be San Francisco, is you keep that person confined until the feds can come there, because it is a purview of the federal government to protect the borders and make sure that people come here legally. This isn't rounding people up who are here illegally. This isn't about dreamers. We're past that. Hey, listen, my God, I've got, my daughter went to a school. 90% of the kids were from out of the country. She was one of the, 1 in 10 white kids there. And there were a lot of kids there who were there, first generation mom and dad. Some, I'm sure illegally here. But the kids are raised here. And it's not fair for those kids to have to face being sent back to a third world hellhole when they've grown up here. It's not fair. It'd be like yanking me and sending me somewhere. All right? Anyway, your thoughts are welcome. 303-713-8255. Going to get to some more mayor audio from the mayor in a second about a whole host of ways they're fighting the Trump administration with regard to policy. Tom's on the line. Hello, Tom, and welcome to KHOW 630 Denver's talk station. Your thoughts, sir?
Hi, good morning. Hey, I was calling to respond regarding the lady that was just on, Sue, I think her name was.
Yes.
Half-price shakes and ice cream slushes after
I have no interest in apologizing for the gentleman at Walmart that said the offensive things to her. I'm so tired of people like her. The media does it routinely, parading out some kid and talking about somebody's hurt feelings and equating our policy ideas or our policy viewpoints, racism. Look, the people that are coming here illegally, they're not speaking German, they're not speaking Italian, they're not speaking French, they're speaking Spanish. If you want to call it racist, fine. I don't give a darn anymore. You know what? These folks are compromising our national security. They're compromising our economy. They're changing our culture. It's our culture. We have a right to defend our border. And if these folks are here illegally and they commit crimes, arrest them and send them home.
That's the way I feel
this
about it.
This is a very simple thing.
All right.
And the only benefit to anyone with this multiculturalist immigration, pro-illegal immigration, is that Democrats think that they're gaining political advantage.
All right.
That's it.
All right, Don. Thanks. I got to run. Thank you very much. I'm going to disagree with you on calling somebody out because they're speaking Spanish. I'm not going to. That's just ugly. Speak American. Speak English. You ain't American. Go back home. That's stupid. At Walmart. That's just dumb. Come on. We are better than that, right? We're better than that for calling people out for speaking foreign language. I speak French. I know. I double majored in it. It's so stupid. I never used it. Clyde on the line. Hello, Clyde. Those French. Send those French home with their croissants. Clyde, welcome to 630 KHOW. What's going on?
Okay, Rob. Good to have you as a voice here in Denver.
Thank you. Thank you.
Say, Jack Anderson, the old columnist, about 40 years, did an article, and he said one of the real purposes of having an open border was to bring all the drug trade into the United States, basically corrupt as is true in Mexico and most of South America, and to corrupt every judge, eventually every police officer. He said it would take maybe a generation or two or three. He said it's a total, complete attack. And he didn't mention globalism, but it's one of the means by which the globalists bring countries down.
Yeah.
And he said the plain fact of the matter is that if you let this go on, it's been going on for at least 2 generations now, if you let this go on, you just turn the United States into Mexico. And is that what the American people want? I think a lot of people realize, as Jack Anderson said, this is part of the agenda to bring America down and to import hundreds of these drug gangs into the country so that we will feel much more uncomfortable. We become much more isolated. It's psych warfare.
Well, Jay, there's a lot of resentment on the left of the United States and its success in the world.
Yes,
they think we eat too much. They think we drink too much. We think we consume too many of the world's resources. This is socialist thinking. Rather than rising the boats of others, you lower our boat.
Well, as Paul Volcker said, the old former chairman of the Secretary of Treasury, he said, of course American standard of living has to come down.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Bring everybody else's up. Thank you. And this is the thing that really bugs me the most. And I'm not just talking about Mexico. I'm talking about Central and South America. If my country were bleeding its most valuable resource, which is its people, like this, I would say maybe we should become more like the place they want to go. Is that foolish? I don't think so. Got time for one more call here, and we'll come back with more. Jay, you have the last. You're the last call of this segment anyway. You got about 40 seconds. Go.
Hi, I actually agree with the previous lady that called. I don't get what positive influence that kind of rhetoric has to, use words like immigration and stuff like that. Because, what are you trying to paint the picture of? What are you trying to generalize right there?
Well, I use things to exemplify things. I use things to even make absurd statements to exemplify the absurd. That's one thing that Limbaugh does. Whatever. That's a very small thing. I think we're on the same page as far as yelling at people in Walmart for speaking Spanish. I think we're on the same page, all of us, with regard to criminal illegal aliens. That is, illegals who are here who commit crimes. They should go. I think we can all agree on that. But I do appreciate call Jay. David, if you can hold on. We're going to play some audio from the mayor on this. Kyle Clark from Channel 9 had some things to say about it. Your thoughts are welcome, 303-713-8255. This and the climate change agenda of Barack Obama, torn up and put in the shredder yesterday. Does this mean the end of the world? I'm Rob Carson on 630 KHOW. Stick around.
Save money and one giant headache with Tom Martino. He's coming up this morning at 10 on 630 KHOW.
So I say welcome to the moon town.
Welcome to Denver. We are a sanctuary city. Oh, by the way, immigration in Russian is imigracja. And in Zulu, it's wezifiki. I don't want to say immigration. In Afrikaner, it's imigrazi. Yeah. If Esperanto, I don't even know where Esperanto is. Is that a country? Immigrado. Javanese, it's imigracia as well. In Maori, it's manin. So, I didn't want to stereotype anybody and make everybody sound like we're talking just about people coming across the southern border who are Mexican. Okay. So the mayor yesterday put out a YouTube video where he made all of us feel bad for wanting our country to follow the federal law with regard to immigration.
If being a sanctuary city means that we value taking care of one another and welcoming refugees and immigrants, then I welcome the title.
And if you don't agree with the mayor, you're those awful people who he's, basically calling out right now.
If being a sanctuary city means families and young dreamers live with hope and not fear, then Washington can label us whatever they want.
I know a lot of people on my side of the equation want people to live in fear. Yeah. Okay, Mayor, sure, whatever. All we're asking is that illegals who commit crimes here go bye-bye. That's what we're saying. David, we've got two Davids who've been waiting just forever to be on the radio. And I want to welcome David number 1 to the show. Welcome to 630 KHOW Denver Stock Station. I am Rob Carson. Your thoughts, my friend?
Hi, how's it going this morning?
Good, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. I just worked a long shift overnight. I work for a local sheriff's office. And I've also, when I was in the military in the National Guard, I was deployed for Operation Jumpstart, where we actually went down to help support the Border Patrol operation.
Nice.
But the interesting aspect of the local problems with sanctuary and such is we actually used to hold a lot of immigrants for ICE in one of our facilities.
Yeah.
And, well, we held one and one sued for basically illegal detention.
Okay.
And when the ICE agent went up on who supplied us with the documents, and was questioned about the legality of them, and he ended up indicating to us as a department that these were legally binding documents. And on the stand, he indicated, well, actually, no, they weren't. They weren't an actual warrant from a judge.
Mm-hmm.
So therein lies some of the problems that some local agencies have with ICE. And so we ended up losing that suit, and the sheriff ended up stating to ICE that you have this much time and all these people we've been holding for you, you have to come get them. But we still cooperate with ICE, as in when we get somebody who that they might be interested in, we notify them. And if we're releasing them on bond, if they get somebody to bail them out, we notify them and say they're going to be released in about this amount of time. If you want them, come get them.
Gotcha. Now, let me ask you this, David, and I greatly appreciate your perspective. Is Denver a sanctuary city? Is Aurora a sanctuary city? In with regard to what we consider as conservatives to be sanctuary, which means essentially somebody can commit a crime and they get released. Or are they following federal regulations by contacting ICE when someone commits a serious crime and is illegal? Go.
I believe the sheriff's office, when they release them, will cooperate, not necessarily Denver themselves or maybe Aurora. They both have their Denver has the sheriff's office. Aurora actually has their own city holding facility as well, which is separate from the two sheriff's departments that house some of their criminals, which is Arapahoe and Adams County.
Do you feel like the police departments are following federal regulations? Any idea?
I believe they are.
Okay.
I think they're in conflict with the city policies that they have to contend with. So they're in conflict with their own administrations, unfortunately, and that in lies some of the headaches that we in law enforcement have to face every day. And
do you feel that if you look at the edict that Jeff Sessions released on Monday, do you feel like Denver should, or even Aurora, should lose federal funding because of their status as an immigration sanctuary?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to hear. I mean, I didn't want to hear that. You're the guy. You know more about this than I do.
If they're not following guidelines, then then the federal government has every right to sit there and say, well, if you're not going to comply with this, then you're going to lose federal funding if they're not complying with federal law. It's slightly different from, say, the legal drinking age, which there's no federal law against, but the federal government will use that as leverage. So,
hey, listen, David, if it's good enough for a guy wearing a dress going into the bathroom at, the women's bathroom to get federal funding revoked, I'd say this is a little more important. Thanks for the call, buddy. Let's go to David, number 2. David, welcome to 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station. I'm Rob Carson. Your thoughts, please.
Good morning, Rob. I just wanted to touch on, are we a nation of laws, or do we get ruled by men? Because these administrators and politicians that come in and get to pick and choose to decide which laws they're going to enforce, that's going to take us down a very slippery slope. And basically it's going to get worse and worse as time goes on, because politicians are like little kids. They're going to push it further and further until the people kind of push back on them.
Yeah,
Second of all,
go ahead.
I'd like to do not small businesses, don't these people have to get I-9 forms filled out and provide identification for these people to legally work in there? So by having a sanctuary city, you are pretty much encouraging criminal activity, because identity theft is going to have to go up because of these I-9s. These people need jobs, so more of us are going to be punished from this situation. And also, it encourages tax evasion. A lot of these employers are going to start pushing under the table.
Of course they do.
What does that mean? It means no federal income tax. It means no state income tax.
Of course they do. You ever been to Home Depot? You ever been to Home Depot in the morning?
I go through Greeley every morning. There's 20 of them sitting out in front of gas stations, and they're all gone by 9.
And they're getting paid in cash. That's the way it's going.
Absolutely. And if it keeps going this way, you will basically see us fall into something like Mexico. We will go from being the world power and a great nation to live in, to crappy roads, bad water to drink because our sewer plants and our water treatment plants go south. It's going to happen.
All right.
The sad thing is nobody is going to do anything about it, because we have to be kinder and softer and gentler with all these people.
If you ask that people come here legally like they have in the past, if you ask that immigrants and refugees come here and learn the language and learn about the country and assimilate into the society, you're the bad guy suddenly. Thanks for the call. We're the only country like this in the world. It's not bad mouthing the United States. You ever watch the Olympics? You ever see China, their team? They're all Chinese. Okay? Korea, they're all Korean. Russia, pretty much all Russian. You seen our Olympic team lately? Don't act like we are not still the greatest, the greatest melting pot in the world. Because we are. And I get so damn tired of being shamed by politicians for just saying, do it right. Get here the right way. There was nothing to be ashamed about for saying you want the border secure. Here's a little bit from the address from the mayor of Denver, Mr. Hancock. And basically, it's not only about immigration. It's about bucking everything the Trump administration wants to do.
I want to take a few moments to speak directly to our community in Denver at the conclusion of such a tumultuous week. After the November election,
it's only Wednesday, actually.
I committed to you that Denver would remain welcoming, inclusive, and open for everyone.
It's hump day. It's not the end of the week.
With every new order coming out of Washington, I am more committed than ever. Impacts to the EPA will not divert our efforts to reduce our carbon footprint, protect Denver's natural resources, and continue to reach for our 2020 sustainability goals and beyond. Defunding critical women's care facilities
abortion
will not stop us from supporting reproductive rights,
abortion,
and working every day toward women's equality.
Yeah, abortion means equality. I can't have an abortion.
And executive orders on immigration will not make us turn our backs on our immigrant and
there he is. He's pontificating again.
Refugee communities. Now, I want to pause here because I know there was
I just did. Look.
Some confusion from my press statements earlier this week. Denver has never felt the need to label who we are. It's our values backed by our actions that make Denver a city that protects all our people. And
that's a bumper sticker.
Not be bullied by Washington because they have failed to act. If being a sanctuary city means that we value taking care of one another and welcoming refugees and immigrants, then I welcome the title.
Again,
if being a sanctuary city means families and young dreamers live with hope and not fear, then Washington can label us whatever they want.
Okay.
If being a sanctuary city means that our law enforcement officers are expected to do the work of federal immigration authorities or violate the constitutional rights of any of our people, we reject that.
No, all they're asking is that if local law enforcement catches someone who's committed a serious crime, could be a rape, could be child molestation, could be DUI, could be hit and run, could be and you find out they're here illegally, that's when you call the agencies and they do their job.
And while we cannot predict what tomorrow will bring, I believe in a community that protects each other, that includes each other, and that sticks up for each other is what matters. Like many of you, I sat in my living room last night and watched the news.
Yeah.
I saw story after story of fearful immigrant communities.
You were obviously watching one of the big three networks.
Unfortunately, right here in our very own community, we have recently seen swastikas and hateful language.
That's a load of crap.
Graffiti in our neighborhoods, and now threats to our refugees.
This is the biggest lie, and this is the biggest insult to us. Most of these idiotic hate crimes are perpetrated by people who want to further a narrative, and shame on this mayor for saying that. Hate is not growing in this country because who's in the White House? Hate is not growing in this country. We are not being dragged back to 1968. We are not being dragged back to 1919.
This is not who we are.
Oh, shut up.
Denver is good. Denver is great. Thanks to you, our people. Let's take
all of the people who agree with me politically. The other ones, you're complete a-holes and you're awful.
A simple action to remind each other of what we love about our city.
Yes.
Share with us instances of care and service in our community, a neighbor or your own family on Twitter or Instagram using the
You don't need to share it because people who do good don't feel like they need to brag about it. What a bunch of hooey. Yes, I said hooey. Robert is on the line. Hello, Robert. Welcome to 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station. I'm Rob Carson. Go right ahead.
Good morning, sir. I want to make two quick points. And first, Mayor Hancock kind of alluded to, he said, we don't want immigrant communities living in fear and other hooey to that effect. First off, immigrant communities have absolutely nothing to fear. Nothing. As long as they're not illegal immigrant communities. And that is the lie, the farce that is perpetrated by the left on a regular basis of refusing to make the distinction between legal and illegal immigration and folks who have come here the right way and folks who have come here the wrong way. And they have tried very desperately to change the narrative by using the catchphrases like undocumented or migrant workers or things like that because they refuse to acknowledge the plain and simple truth that if you sneak across the border or overstay a visa or anything else, you are breaking law. And they don't want to acknowledge that. The second is, and this is the utter hypocrisy of the left, because every time they want to talk about gun control, just as an example, their tagline is always, well, if it saves just one life, isn't it worth it? Isn't it worth it to infringe on your constitutional rights if it saves just one life? Well, I would apply that argument to illegal immigration. If it saved Kate Steinley's life, wouldn't it have been worth it?
Amen. That's a great
girl from being brutally raped in a bathroom in her school in Maryland. Wouldn't it have been worth it? Well, why not?
Exactly. Robert, that is a brilliant point. Bravo. Bravo, my friend, and thank you for listening. Do appreciate it. I kind of like Kyle Clark at Channel 9. I like him. He's a smart guy. He kind of showed his politics last night talking about Denver is a sanctuary city, and if that means federal funds go away. Here's a little bit of his, and again, I've seen some of the stuff that I really like. This, I just don't agree with him. But I think he's a pretty smart guy.
We are getting some feedback about our reporting on why Denver is not likely targeted by the Trump administration's crackdown on sanctuary cities. And it is some really super thoughtful feedback tonight.
Super thoughtful.
Ike writes, you have the nuts to say this city is not a sanctuary city. You're nutless. Shane,
how can you be nuts and nutless at the same time? I don't know.
Shane writes,
well, wait a minute. I'm married.
You are nothing but a dirty little globalist traitor. It's funny that you mentioned that I'm a dirty little globalist traitor, because that term, just like the term sanctuary city, has no legal definition.
Okay.
So I'm a dirty little...
Let me ask you this. By saying that you're a sanctuary city, aren't you broadcasting to the world, whether you're a criminal or otherwise, you can basically get away with anything? Isn't that really what you're saying? Isn't that really what you're saying?
Globalist traitor, and Denver is a sanctuary city, if you say so. But what we've been looking at here is whether Denver will fall under the Trump administration's defunding of sanctuary cities, and the Attorney General made clear it hinges on one federal law.
The Department of Justice will also take all lawful steps to claw back any funds awarded to a jurisdiction that willfully violates 1373.
1373.
8 U.S.C. Section 1373.
1373.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions zeroed in on that federal law as the benchmark for whether a city...
Which federal law? 1373.
...is now in danger of losing Justice Department grant money.
1373. You should not be receiving certain federal funds if you're not in compliance with 1373.
1373 says state and local authorities can't prohibit employees from communicating with immigration officials. It does not require compliance with those voluntary immigration detainer requests, where Denver has gotten tangled up with the feds. In Denver, the police manual tells officers...
Where Denver's gotten tangled up with the feds. Okay. Well, it means you're not doing what the feds want you to do.
...that they should stop someone based solely on a suspicion that they're in this country illegally.
Okay.
But unlike other cities targeted by the feds, in Denver, there's no prohibition on communication with immigration agents, such as in New York City.
Yeah, and that's de Blasio's fault. So, this will come out in the wash. I've got a lot of people who are saying that Denver should have federal funding cut because of the mayor's policies. And I've had people like Kyle here saying, no, they're still communicating with federal officials. I don't know. Like I said, I hope it comes out on the wash. All right. I think we're done for now talking about immigration. Next, we're going to talk about the climate change agenda of Barack Obama being thrown in the shitter. Does this mean the end of the world as we know it? And there's some fun stuff coming too, non-political stuff on the way. I'm Rob Carson. You are listening to 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station.
This is the Ross Kaminsky Show. Now, Ross Kaminsky on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
Rob Carson filling in once again on 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station. Having the time of my life. You guys are making it really, really cool. And we've got a bunch of stuff we're going to get to on the show, including, I do want to get to this play at a Minnesota high school has been canceled. It's a comedy. It features 3 characters in KKK garb, which they act like buffoons and are essentially minimalized. They're not meaning to be taken seriously, but somebody is just so offended by the KKK hood they can't handle it. Could you imagine, like Blazing Saddles? You couldn't make Blazing Saddles today. I know that's not a school play. You could not make Blazing Saddles today. And what about the producers? You couldn't do the producers at a high school because it's a Nazi uniform. There's a Nazi uniform on there, and it's offensive. Honestly, it just... The word snowflake is so apropos with some people. So we'll get to that very shortly on the radio program. For those of you who just tuned in and you didn't hear Bill O'Reilly talking about Maxine Waters, I'm going to go ahead and play it again here. Here he is talking about her wig.
You're not nearly as patriotic as we are.
So what does that mean, Bill? We've been listening all morning. We cannot. I didn't hear a word she said. I was looking at the James Brown wig.
Wow.
If we have a picture of James, it's the same. It's the same one, right?
And he's not using it. They do look very similar. And maybe Maxine's is real.
Defend her on that.
You're all wrong about
I have to defend her on that. You can't go after a woman's looks. I think she's...
Why can't you? You can go after Donald Trump's looks. You can go after Barack Obama's ears.
Very attractive.
But I didn't say she wasn't attractive. I love
How many drinks have you had?
James Brown. But it's the same hair James Brown, or the Godfather of Soul, had.
So he had girl hair.
Whatever it is, I just couldn't get by it. You're all wrong about Maxine Waters. Number one, she's a sincere individual. Whatever she says, she believes. She's not a phony, all right? That's right. And that's old school, all right? If you're not a phony,
old school, you got this new book coming out.
So we give him...
There we go. We go to the segue to talk about his latest book. Here's Maxine Waters responding on MSNBC.
No, I'm not responding to him. First of all, let me thank Hillary Clinton for standing up for all women. And
except for women who are molested in hotel rooms by her husband.
In particular for black women. And let me just say this. I'm a strong black woman. And
it's a theme here.
Cannot be intimidated. I cannot be undermined. I cannot be thought to be...
He wasn't doing that. He made a comment about your hair.
Afraid of Bill O'Reilly or anybody. And I'd like to say to women out there everywhere, don't...
He insulted all women.
Allow these right-wing talking heads, these dishonorable people to intimidate you or scare you. Be who you are, do what you do, and let us get on with discussing the real issues of this country.
Okay, that's her response, and here is my Bill O'Reilly James Brown remix right here.
I didn't hear a word she said. I was looking at the James Brown wig.
So good.
James Brown wig.
Ain't it funky?
It's the same one.
So good. Ain't it funky?
I love James Brown.
Ain't it funky?
Are the Godfather of Soul?
Hi. Okay, let's talk about other stuff. I do want to mention another thing on immigration. I saw this the other day, the Nebraska Democrat Party. They're doing their pontification like so many Democrats are. If you want federal immigration laws enforced with regard to criminal illegal aliens, they talk down to you. Okay, you are a xenophobe, you are a racist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Nebraska Senator, well, I should say, a Democrat Party chairwoman in Nebraska, Jane Klebe, put together this thing where they were going to do welcome baskets for immigrants. Welcome baskets. It's like those who lost the lottery on where to live in the United States. You got to offer them a basket to live in Nebraska. Because, I mean, after Lincoln, westward, there's nothing there. Pretty rocks out there, but that's about it. Anyway, they, and all the stuff that they included, kind of wipies, and there's some diapers, and there's some other things, in this little care package, voter registration, and some Kleenex. What? Yeah, the Democrat Party put in a voter registration form. Has the Democrats' contact information. In Nebraska, like in so many states, they don't require verification of citizenship during voter registration. So they just decided, it was a mistake. I mean, you got a toothbrush and toothpaste and floss and deodorant and voter registration. And then you've also got feminine hygiene products and voter registration. In Nebraska, by the way, 2016 election, there were 7 counties. Loop, Wheeler, Kimball, Thurston, Hooker County. Yeah. Woohoo! Kiapaya and Thomas had more than 100% voter registration when comparing total voters against residents aged 18 and older. Counties range from 101 to 110%. Yeah. That's how they roll. That is, in a nutshell, why Democrats love their illegal immigration, or if you want to say it in, I don't know, let's see. Let's say it in Filipino, immigration, or Esperanto, inmigrado. Either one of those. In a nutshell, that's why they like that illegal immigration, folks. By the way, a Massachusetts state representative was caught tipping off illegal immigrants to ICE raids. Massachusetts State Representative Michelle Dubois posted a warning to illegal immigrants on her Facebook page Tuesday about upcoming immigration and customs enforcement raids that are rumored to be taking place in the area. It's only if there is an illegal who has committed a felony, a serious crime. That's it. It's not wholesale. And like in Denver, police can't just pull you over because they think you're not here legally. That's not a reason to stop someone. Doesn't exist. Okay, let's talk about what happened yesterday in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump signed a sweeping order to dismantle Obama climate change policies, promote energy independence. This is exactly what he said he was going to do. Is this the end of the world, folks? Is this the end of the world? Because Michael Moore thinks so. Michael Moore said Trump caused extinction of human life on Earth. Michael Moore sounded a dire warning on his social media accounts Tuesday, saying that this day, the 28th, 2017 March, would be remembered as this day that Donald Trump caused the beginning of the planet-wide extinction of humanity. Declaring war on our planet. He's so dramatic. He should act instead of just do documentaries. Historians on our near future will mark today, March 28, 2017, as the day the extinction of human life on Earth begins. That's what he said. This is a defining moment in the history of mankind. By signing those executive orders today, Trump is declaring an act of war on the planet and its inhabitants. He continued, the one silver lining here is that Trump can't kill the planet. The planet wants to live and has a long history of wiping out real or perceived threats. Yeah, it got really cold, and then global warming caused it to come out of the whole ice age. And the reason why is because cavemen and mammoths had SUVs. It's the only reason, because it was cold. And the Great Lakes were caused by glaciers moving through there. So anyway, the president did sign this yesterday, and he quoted as saying, the miners told me about the attacks on their jobs and livelihoods. He told those gathered at the EPA agency headquarters where he signed the executive order Tuesday. Man, he is a hated man at EPA headquarters. Donald Trump could not be very popular at EPA headquarters. He says, my administration is putting an end to the war on coal. Now, I was driving to where my mom lives in South Dakota. Omaha, Nebraska is run on coal. Omaha, Nebraska is run on coal. A lot of our municipalities are run on coal. Listen, they've done all sorts of things to make coal burning cleaner. For some odd reason, when they started losing the argument with regard to fossil fuels, some people decided to blame it on carbon dioxide. The stuff, I'm killing the planet. There you go, okay? Making it live, make it to die. Okay, that's carbon dioxide that I just released there. There are other ways to release carbon dioxide, but I'm on the radio. Anyway, the order asks EPA to review major regulations limiting carbon dioxide emissions from new and existing power plants. The Clean Power Plan. This order repeals Obama-era global warming directives. And this has killed coal country. This is why Donald Trump won the election. This is a good reason why. Do you think it's the end of the world? Do you think by repealing these edicts from the previous president that it's the end of the world? This is Scott Pruitt, the new EPA director. He's evil because he likes fossil fuel.
The controversial new head of the Environmental Protection Agency on Tuesday spoke to EPA employees and laid out his vision for their role.
I believe that we as an agency and we as a nation can be both pro-energy and jobs and pro-environment, that we don't have to choose between the two.
But the two words that EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt never mentioned, climate change. And that does not come as a surprise.
Because it used to be global warming. And now it's any change in the climate is blamed immediately on humans.
Democrats and environmental groups unsuccessfully fought to block Pruitt's confirmation last week in committee hearings. Nearly 800 former EPA officials signed a letter urging the Senate to reject Pruitt's confirmation. Both President Donald Trump and
because they wanted to save their jobs.
Pruitt are climate change skeptics and have consistently challenged the views of 97% of scientists who agree
97% of scientists, okay.
Climate change is happening and that human activity.
What kind of scientists are we talking about here? Because when you say scientists, it could be a lot of things.
Is the primary cause of it. On Tuesday, Pruitt called on the EPA to better define its own regulations.
Regulations ought to make things regular. Regulators exist.
I know some things that'll make you regular.
To give certainty to those that they regulate. Those that we regulate ought to know what's expected of them so that they can plan and allocate resources to comply.
Let's just say it. The EPA is a massive bureaucracy that slows down business. It slows down individuals to the point that you can't own a farm and dig a cattle pond, which is something you absolutely need if you have grazing land. I know this. I was raised on a farm, okay? They stuck their nose in that business and are regulating mud puddles as some sort of a body of water. It's about time the EPA got smacked back. It's about time a lot of these government agencies shrunk. I'm not anti-conservation. I'm very pro-conservation. Nobody on my side of the political equation, libertarian-leaning conservative, wants dirty air or dirty water, and we know it's not the case. But the EPA, like so many agencies, including the IRS, have overreached, and they're getting slapped back a little bit. And by the way, all of these people who say that we need to have poison light bulbs in our house, and we need to consume less, and we need to drive crappy, unsafe cars. Those are the same people in Washington, D.C. who drive in motorcades and private jets around the world. That includes President Obama. That includes Al Gore. That includes Hillary Clinton. A lot of them who live a different existence than you and I do. They are the let-them-eat-cake people, and we are the bourgeois. Rick is on the line. Hello, Rick, and welcome to 630 KHOW.
I am doing great, sir. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Well, I'm going to expand your linguistic prowess to make you more politically correct.
Oh, are you going to tell me another way to say immigration?
Yes, in Czech, actually.
Okay, go.
Stay overlek.
Oh, your phone is cracked. You got to talk a little louder, dude. I can't hear you.
Stay overlek.
Oh, I could barely hear it. It says like Obalechi. Sorry, you got a bad phone. Call me back. I want to learn more about how to say immigration, because when I said emigracion this morning, I really, really offended a lot of people. So I've learned a lot. Romanian, it's immigrati. Lithuanian, it's immigratja. Am I doing well? Irish, it's inimmersi. I'm Irish, but I don't know how to say that. But call back if you have a way that I should say immigration. Here's the president a couple of years ago talking about climate. And the reason why his ilk likes this is because they can control more. And they can bring down the United States rather than raising the boats of other nations.
This is not simply a danger to be avoided. This is an opportunity to be seized. But we have to keep going. We're making a difference, but we have to keep going. We are not moving fast enough. If we were to abandon our course of action, if we stop trying to build a clean energy economy and reduce carbon pollution, if we do nothing to keep glaciers from melting faster and oceans from rising fast.
Well, I thought you were going to stop the raising.
And forests from burning faster and storms from growing stronger.
And none of this has happened. We heard that this is going to be 10 years ago. 11 years ago, we were told the worst storms were going to hit the East Coast. The worst hurricanes were coming, and none of them happened. You've been wrong. Last season in the Midwest, one of the slowest tornado seasons ever. They're always wrong. When they have these climate summits, it always snows. I mean, it's like God saying, really? You think you're that powerful? Really?
We will condemn our children to a planet beyond their capacity to repair.
As he flies off, and literally he is staying at a villa for $12,000 a night while he writes his memoirs, which he and his wife are getting $65 million for.
Merged countries, abandoned cities, fields no longer growing.
Our fields are yielding more than ever.
Indigenous peoples who can't carry out traditions that stretch back millennia.
Whatever. Oh, Rick's back on the line. Hello, Rick, and welcome back to 630 KHOW. Hello, Rick.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. Now, okay, tell me again.
Okay, in Czech.
Czech.
She stay hovelek D.
Say that one more time.
She stay hovelek D.
She stay hovelek Z.
Yes, you got to kind of roll the R. She stay hovelek D.
Very nice. Bravo. Thank you,
Yeah.
Richard. Oh, wait a minute. That sounded Hispanic. Have a good one, dude. So what do you think? Is it the end of the world? Are we all going to die? Because Donald Trump said that he's going to repeal some of these some of these regulations. And honestly, I have an LLC. I'm not a, small businessman. I don't have to, unless they decide that just my thoughts and the way I deliver them is some sort of an environmental hazard. Some people probably already feel that way, but I don't think it can be regulated yet. It's regulated yet. But is it the end of the world? I mean, everybody's going crazy. They're going crazy. Environmental groups in Colorado and beyond mobilized to oppose Trump order to dismantle the U.S. climate change policy. Trump is sacrificing our future for fossil fuel profits, leaving our kids to pay the price. That's according to the National Resource Defense Council President Ray Suh, who probably drove to work in a car that burns gas this morning. So that's what's happening. Trump's order would overhaul the Clean Power Plan crafted by Barack Obama to control carbon pollution. And it became carbon pollution somehow during his administration. Order is expected to open the way for leasing rights to coal mine on federal public land to stop efforts to consider climate change in federal decision-making, because there's been so much dishonesty with the climate change thing. Lying about temperatures around the world to forward a political agenda. And that Bill Nye the Science Guy. Him too. They should resend him. Anyway, I don't think it's going to be the end of the earth. But we have some more on this if you want to talk about it. Going to talk about some crimes on local trails, and it's happening around the country. Is it safe to be a woman on the bike trail? Also, a play canceled for KKK costumes. And what would you do if self-driving cars came to Colorado? I'll share. It's Rob Carson filling on 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station.
Ross now. Tom Martino next at 10 on Talk Radio 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station.
Michael Moore says it's over, baby. Yesterday will be a moment that we will remember for all time. It will be remembered as the day President Donald Trump caused the beginning of the planet-wide extinction of humanity. You know, remember when the dinosaurs got so big that they had to walk around in water, up to their waist, the brontosaurus and whatnot. They literally, when you weigh 90 tons, you can't support yourself anymore. Maybe that's why Michael Moore is so close to this. I'm just saying, maybe. Is it the end of the world, folks? Is it really? Is we're just kind of reeling back an overzealous EPA? I'm glad it happened. The EPA, the NSA, name the institution that is just crushingly bureaucratic in this country. The IRS. I'm so glad to see this stuff rolled back. Connor's on the line. Hello, Connor's got some thought about climate change. Welcome to 630 KHOW. I'm Rob Carson. No, we just lost Connor. You know what happened? I think he might have died because of Donald Trump signing that order yesterday. He may have. Oh, my God. It's already happening. It's already happening. Call back if you can, if you're still alive, Connor, and Donald Trump didn't kill you. I'd like to hear your thoughts. So we were talking about immigration earlier, and I made the mistake of saying immigration, and I made some people mad, saying that I was stereotyping people. So ever since I've been talking other language, how to say immigration. One in Basque, immigrația. Okay. Let's see what else. What have I not covered? Swedish, invandring. Polish, imigracja. Yeah, so there you go. Oh, here's a bit that I did during the last administration about immigration that will surely offend even more.
Mom, I made meatloaf.
Meatloaf? Not again.
Family dinner nights don't need to be boring anymore, thanks to Old Obama.
Yay!
We're flooding your pantry with great south-of-the-border entrees that are so good, they should be illegal.
Can my friends stay for dinner?
With Old El Bamo in the house, they can stay as long as they want.
No longer will the flavors of Guatemala, Honduras, and Ecuador be alien in this country, thanks to Old Obama.
Why, the pantry's getting a little crowded.
Old Obama, another fine product of executive action.
By the way, in Finnish, immigration is Mahandmuto. And I'm finished with this bit. All right, let's move on to some other stuff. I don't want to get to that. This KKK costume story in a school play is really good, but I do want to mention this. I had a couple attacks on local trails, and this is happening around the country, right? There are people being physically assaulted, women being physically assaulted on trails around the country. This happened in Arapahoe County, the Highline Canal Trail on Monday night. And like I said, this is happening. When my wife goes, we have a trail near our home. And I just ask that either I'll go with her or be incredibly vigilant, or don't wear your headphones because you're going to be unaware of your surroundings. It's a little scary. This is a story about some people who found this girl. This girl found them, actually, who had been attacked on this trail from Channel 7.
All of a sudden, a knock on the door.
The knock of panic came shortly before 7.
If they were trying to get in, I was going to meet them at the door. One of those kind of knocks.
There you go.
I just couldn't believe it. On the other side of the door, a frantic young teen.
She was bruised pretty good. She had a little blood on her shirt. She had red marks on her arm where she was grabbed.
She said she'd just been attacked while jogging on the Highline Canal Trail.
I use that trail a lot, and I've carried a stick sometimes, but I think I'll start carrying pepper spray.
Deputies say a man tackled the teen from behind and tried to sexually assault her in the ditch next to the trail.
She hit the ground.
From Latin America to Canada.
They started rolling. She hit the ground, and they started rolling, and she kicked him a couple of times, and then he started hitting her in her head.
The teen got away and ran for help, while the suspect took off with her phone.
We were glad we were here.
Yeah.
The Blackmans called 911 and say investigators did try to track the teen's phone, only to find it and not the suspect.
Had to be a traumatic experience for her.
An already heavily patrolled area. Arapahoe County deputies were out here again just after dark.
There's a predator out there, and he needs to be stopped.
Yeah, 100%. Now, we heard earlier another trail. The guy was riding a bike and rode by a guy who was running. I guess he had a bike bell. On a mountain bike, you don't. On a mountain bike, here's what you do. And I've done enough mountain biking. You say, you're left. And then the runner goes to the right and you go around it, right? Nobody has a bicycle bell on a mountain bike. Maybe that's the reason the guy went off. Anyway, the runner, after a second pass, confronted the biker, and I think he was wrong, obviously. He assaulted this guy, knocked him off his bike, strangled him, threw his bike off a cliff. If you have that on your mountain bike, dear God in heaven. I mean, honestly, just get the little tassels from the handlebars, because you shouldn't be on a mountain bike. You know? Yeah, maybe. Well, no, listen. My producer said, did he have a trading car on the spokes? There's nothing wrong with a trading car on the spokes. Okay? I had a Schwinn chopper when I was a kid, and that makes it even cooler. So just get off that right now. Anyway, the runners are unhappy people anyway. They never look terribly happy when they run, so they're probably on a hair trigger. It's like all they're thinking about is, God, I want a sandwich or something when I get done here. But anyway, no, on a more serious point, these attacks are happening nationwide, and there are plenty of trails around the country. I'm not kidding. Where I live, there was a woman attacked a few weeks ago. They found her body a couple days later. This is in a suburban neighborhood. There are... I'm sure there are safe trails, but you've got to be vigilant no matter where you are, no matter what neighborhood. If you think that this is a safe trail, the Highline Canal Trail, you've got to be careful as, I've got to tell you, as a woman, generally, and maybe as a guy on a bike, mountain bike with a bell on it. You've got to be aware of your surroundings. You've got to get those headphones out of your ears. That's another thing. Get the headphones out of your ears. If you're doing a run on a trail and there are birds and stuff, no. You don't need to hear Katy Perry's latest song. Anyway, let's hope we get this guy. Let's hope we get this guy. This is pretty interesting. Natural playgrounds made of recycled trees and boulders have become a popular option over traditional playgrounds with slides, monkey bars, and swings. And Denver Parks and Recreation has 3 natural playground projects planned. This is kind of funny. I like this, don't get me wrong. But isn't it kind of funny that we had some spaces with trees and boulders, and we cut down the trees and moved out the boulders and put up some monkey bars and some swings. And, these elaborate play parks, which are nothing like when I was a kid. Mine was that we as the bedding, instead of like mulch or old Nike shoes, it was broken glass. But after removing the rocks and boulders and the trees and all that, they came in and they bought in the monkey bars and this, and now they're going back to the rocks and the boulders and the trees. I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great that they are having trees secured into the ground and mulch all over so kids can jump around in it. I think that's great, but it is kind of a circuitous way to get back to rocks and boulders and trees. I thought that was kind of funny. All right. Let's talk about this play in Minnesota. The play in Minnesota called The Foreigner. These kids were going to put it together at a high school in New Prague, Minnesota. New Prague High School. 2-act comedy set in the American South that depicts the Ku Klux Klan as bad guys who get defeated when all is said and done. But that was too much for those who only see the hoods. Never experienced the KKK. Most of us haven't, even if you're black. Yes, I know. But it was too much for some who might be offended. Here's the story from a Minneapolis TV station, CARE.
The stage is set in the auditorium at New Prague High School, but there will be no performance. Not after this picture stole the show.
Is it disappointing? Yes. I'm disappointed for the kids that invested so much time in the play and performing.
Principal Lonnie Seifert said it was a tough decision canceling the school's spring play, The Foreigner.
What you got there? Sweet tea.
One that's been performed in high schools across the country. Yeah. The story is a comedy.
The Invincible Empire.
And portrays the KKK as antagonists.
It's got a good message, a message of inclusiveness and acceptance of all.
And it makes fun of KKK members. It doesn't celebrate them. But just seeing the sight of that character in costume was too much for some to handle.
But unfortunately, I believe what happened with the social media, the message is now lost.
The picture taken during rehearsal includes a caption reading, "I think you're going to want to come to the spring play."
And I really, truly don't believe there was ill intent on the part of the person that posted it.
Of course there wasn't.
But the damage was done. Students and parents offended by the post and the play met with Seifert, as well as the play.
When, just real quick, and then your phone calls are welcome, 303-713-8255. I've made this point several times, in fact, hundreds of times, on my regular radio program. My show's regular. I know you're laughing. But when did being offended be a bad thing? When was being offended being the ultimate act of aggression against someone? We live in a country. The First Amendment exists so we can offend. The First Amendment exists so we can offend. It's there to defend speech that is unpopular. I don't get it. My Lord in heaven, when I talk on the radio, I don't mean to be offensive, but if I am, you call me out on it, and that's fine. I'm not destroyed by this. But I got to tell you, I've never, ever, ever called a radio station. I've never called a movie company. I've never called a theater. I've never called it because I was offended. If I was offended by something at a place, I don't go there again. My gosh, Being offended is this glorious thing. You could be offended without being thrown in jail, without being put in a gulag. Isn't that a marvelous thing? But here we have so many who are hurt by words. Little Morris from the story out of Minnesota, and your thoughts as well, 303-713-8255.
Director.
And I'm disappointed that some of our students had to go through the feelings that they went through seeing that post also.
And that's why this weekend the seats will stay empty in the auditorium and the show won't go on.
I think we need to make decisions with all students in mind, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, you made a decision that didn't have all students in mind. You made a decision to cancel the play. And this means all of the kids who worked very hard to do that play are going to be out. All of the work that they put into it, knowing that this play is some sort of a commentary, and it makes fun of racism, they've been shut out of the conversation because one or two people saw nothing but an image and immediately reacted, said they were offended. This to me it sickens me. You should be thrilled to be offended. You know, you should. Listen, when people call me and say they're offended, I'm okay, great. I'm sorry I did that, but you know, I can't appeal to everybody. I can't make everybody happy. You know, I see things. Family Guy. I stopped watching Family Guy like last season because they did a couple things that I thought were pretty bad. There was an episode where Meg, the teenage daughter, they opened her bedroom door and she was hanging by her neck and she killed herself. I didn't think that was funny. I thought it was really, really gross. And I got offended, but you know, I just don't watch it anymore. You know, Family Guy has some really funny stuff, but every once in a while they do something that I just go, hey, you know, I'm not going to boycott anybody. I'm not going to call the network. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to watch it. I might come back to it because some of the stuff that Family Guy does, but some things that Family Guy does are not appealing to me. Dave Chappelle got a brand new stand-up special on Netflix. And people are offended because he's apparently makes fun of transgender people and gay people and other people. You know, grow up. I got made fun of wholesale from first grade until my sophomore year in high school when I finally kicked Mike McKee's ass. You know, sometimes you get made fun of. I'm not saying bullying, don't get me wrong, but if you're an adult, you can't handle freedom of expression. It's a little much. It's a little much. I don't know. Anyway, it's too bad because when you just look at an image or a picture and you make an immediate decision about that image is offensive. I mean, look at, and I mentioned this earlier, Blazing Saddles. Have you watched Blazing Saddles with your kids? Watch it with your kids and explain to them that it's not just the N-word. If you just played Gene Wilder saying the N-word, people would be offended, or Mel Brooks saying the N-word. Out of the context of Cleavon Little being there, and the brilliant commentary that movie made about racism. It made the racists look like idiots, like morons. It was absurdity. It was brilliant absurdity. And by God, you could not make that movie today, right? You couldn't do it. I had mentioned also, and yeah, I'm a Mel Brooks fan. The producers, if you took one episode or one still frame shot or even Springtime for Hitler and just played it, somebody'd be offended. Until you see it in the context of these guys wanted to make the most offensive thing they could possibly make so they could lose money on a play. I hope we don't lose that, the ability to look at things in context without being offended all the time. Well, I've got about another hour of this show, and I am surely going to offend some of you. So just be ready for it. We've got, apparently Colorado's ready to legalize self-driving cars. They did a survey of what you would do if your car could drive itself. I would love your opinion on that. Chelsea Clinton is mad over a billboard that says it's okay to throw rocks at girls. Okay? One of the stars of a terrific show, Big Bang Theory, says you shouldn't call women girls. Among other things, it's all on the way. In the meantime, check out my Facebook page, Facebook at Rob Carson Show, my website, robcarsonshow.com. If you want to write me, go ahead. Carson on the radio at gmail.com. You are listening to Rob Carson on 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station.